Hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Bailey.
And I'm Michael Burrows.
We are Transcendental Waves, and today we're going to kind of talk about how we imagine creating heaven on earth. Michael, we talked about the first step, I guess, is getting everyone to believe that heaven on earth is possible.
I agree. Just like anything, you have to imagine it's a possibility before you can actually ever achieve it. So if it's to start that, what is heaven? If we want to create heaven on earth, we know what the earth is, but what is heaven? I know a lot of people in this culture, when we think of heaven from the Christian Holy Bible, Jesus, he also says, Jesus says, heaven is within you, and heaven is in your heart. So, to me, heaven is more like pure love, support, community. That's what I think of as heaven. Not a fairy tale land up in the heavens in the sky somewhere.
Right, right. I guess, yeah, same. I think heaven is something we can create here. I'm not 100% sure. I think the definition of heaven in like Merriam Dictionary is like a pleasant, enjoyable experience. Like like heaven on earth. When people say they go on vacation, it was a little piece of heaven. It was just a super pleasant. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
all realize that like when we imagine heaven, it's based on stuff we've already seen here and have here, and kind of the like best of what we can do here. And it's just like, so why not just start creating that here all the time? I guess is my question. Is
I think some people think it's out of reach and that it's no point. We're spoon fed this idea, this mythology of, work, 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 work now. And then when you die, you'll be in this heavenly place of paradise and enjoyment for the rest of your eternity. But if eternity has no beginning nor end, then what was our soul doing before we were here? Because if we believe it has an eternal end, then it has to have had an eternal beginning. So that's just I agree with you that we should be spending our time creating heaven now and living heaven now. When we're all just living heaven, then it just kind of becomes natural. Like I went to this island this summer, and it was like paradise, and it was like heaven on earth in a way. I was out in the ocean. I mean, I caught my fish just like Jesus. I stayed in little huts and stuff. I mean, it was enjoyable. It was great.
yeah, man. Sometimes when you go visit like places where some people would say they have a lot less than us, you find that it's a lot closer to the paradise that is described in a lot of these, like the Bible and the Gitas and stuff like that. These places that have paradises, it's like, yeah, it's a lot simpler place than what we've tried to turn the world into. Um, and I mean, the crazy thing is I'm of the opinion that a lot of this cool stuff that we've brought along with us, a lot of the technology, are that some people would say have corrupted us are just tools, and we've let ourselves become corrupted and not understanding the tools. But like, this is actually, we've created an infrastructure to create paradise where people from anywhere can get anywhere on this planet, and pretty much the blink of an eye. I mean, you can fly across the planet anywhere you want to go. We can go to these islands and do this kind of cool stuff, and it's just
It's almost like stuff of the gods, and all these mythologies. We can do it now.
we've created it, and it's just greed is keeping us from
And I think that's the only thing stopping us is greed.
letting us have heaven. Like, really, it is. It's greed is keeping us away from heaven most of the time.
Because a lot of these people that are getting heaven, they're doing it at the expense of others, and hoarding. They're hoarding heaven.
Yeah,
They're stockpiling heaven in their bank accounts and things like that. And it's
yeah,
unfortunate. So that's got to change somehow. But so many people are dead set on the way things are now. or they think they're the best, and they don't think there's any way to really improve them. And some other systems, that may work and have been working in other countries that maybe their people are happier. Maybe their countries are more heavenly. I guess that'd be a start. Which country right now would we say is most heavenly?
Hmm.
What statistics would make a country heavenly like?
I mean, I guess, pretty good healthcare system, low homeless rates.
The healthiest country, maybe.
Yeah, health.
Happiest country, statistically. Maybe least people in jail.
Yeah, I mean,
Least addiction issues. If we could get into those kind of demographics. The best quality of life. What country has the best quality of life? Maybe it's the United States, but I've done some research. I don't think it is.
I mean, I think we both know that it isn't. The United States isn't number one in any of those categories. I mean,
But we know it could be, and that's crazy, isn't it?
it really, like, that's the thing, is like, I really do think that all of our problems are problems we choose to have. I mean, that's the sad thing.
Jeff, when you were a kid, when you were growing up in middle school and high school, did you think America was number one in all those heavenly demographics?
Yeah, I mean, we're taught that America is the best at everything.
I did too. I really thought that.
And then you realize that our education system's terrible, our healthcare system's terrible. We have some of the highest incarceration rates in the world. I mean, yeah, those stats are there.
What's interesting? Like in Germany, my friend has a German exchange student who's in high school, and he said that around here it's unfamiliar to him to see the country's flag being flown all over people's houses and in cars. He said in Germany, if you display the national flag like that, you're looked as an extremist, as a Nazi it was looked upon. And I think here we still got people trying to fly around the rebel flag, and look how much negative energy is surrounded by that.
Dude, I think nationalism and tribalism are some of the things that keep us away from heaven. I mean, there's so many things, like, I mean, in the Bible, the Tower of Babel story, I mean, basically we're building a tower to heaven, people coming together, God strikes us down, separates us, makes us speak different languages, we see things differently, and it's just like, really, I think that's just a giant metaphor for, like, we could have heaven if we learned how to get along and communicate. It's like, the
Absolutely.
reason we can't have heaven right now is because of things like nationalism, where people are just so crazy about we're the best, we're the best, we're the best, that at a turn of a dime, when things start going bad, they're willing to blame anyone else and basically kill anyone else to stay on top. And it's, I mean,
We see that now.
looking at what's going on around the world. Like, I mean, we're being sold that we're doing all these humanitarian missions and have been since we were kids, and it turns out that we have more military bases around the world than anyone. Like, I mean, we could be making sure everybody out there is doing the right thing, or we could be bullies. I mean, I don't know.
I used to think, we were kind of like, first I thought the Army was like there to defend us. And then I was like, oh, it's like the world's police force. Now it's like, but do we really think police are not bullies anymore?
Yeah.
Now it's even now I think the Army's even more. It's like Congress is bullies. It's like the poor soldiers. It's not the soldiers' fault. They're just being used.
Oh, no, man. And it's like, I feel like that about a lot of things. And in most systems that we have that are corrupt here, there's few people at the top that know they're taking advantage of most of the people within the system. Most of those people go into the Army because they're either poor and they need a way to pay for school or get out of poverty, or they fucking a 9/11 or a Pearl Harbor or some crazy shit happened in their generation, and guess what? Everybody thinks they have to save America, and turns out most of those things are like, like just brought on by the CIA or allowed by our government. Like, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of things out there that,
So what we're saying probably is that if we want heaven on earth, we have to stop with the elitism.
yeah,
Well,
man. It becomes like a personal responsibility. Like letting somebody else
we
dictate
gotta
what your heaven is never going to give you heaven.
right, and we gotta all be number one, right? I mean,
Yep.
it can't just be the United States is the best. You know, it's got to be hey, the world is the best. You know, we're trying to make heaven on earth, not heaven in the United States. You know, unfortunately, it'd be nice if we was the template for that, but I don't think we are.
Right. I mean, that is the whole thing too, and it's like creating heaven on earth is not going to be like the world spins around one time and heaven is everywhere. There's slavery in the Congo. We got people mining our fucking batteries for our phones right now with their little kids with their fingernails digging cobalt out of mines in Africa right now so we can have our smartphones. So like it's not heaven
Right.
on earth. Like
One day, those kids hopefully will be replaced with robots. Hopefully,
yeah, one
with
day
those batteries they're mining.
yeah, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying, and it's not to say that like the batteries are the bad guys, but to like
I know it's just messed up the way it is.
we have armies fighting in places in the world where shit like that's not happening. And right now, like I'm just saying, we select and we pick and choose what we get mad about. We have these outrages as like the mass like country picks like, oh, we got to stand behind Ukraine, or we got to do this for Israel or Palestine this, and it's just there's bad stuff happening everywhere, and we pick and choose like where we can make money to do like to step in and get involved. And once people realize that, like, we'll stop getting involved in all these things. Like you do start creating heaven in the United States and let it blossom out. You don't have to Team America World Police. If we're just a shining light, I think that starts like us as Americans have to be individuals that are like take responsibility for creating our own heaven. And as we start doing that, like it'll just blossom out. Like I mean, we were talking last time about the different like farms and communes and these plant medicine retreats and stuff like that. I mean, those communities are the things that are starting to create their own heaven. And it's just like getting bigger and bigger. I just like there are obvious things that are happening that are way bigger than us that are very scary in the world right now that make it seem like heaven on earth is not possible. But those things are blown out of proportion, and really like we feed into those problems by continually letting our government send us to war in places we have no business being. Uh, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you know, if communication is key, then maybe the key to heaven on earth is communication and seeing the injustices that are being done in parts of the world that they're still being done. And so, as we're able to do that, such as with Starlink or global satellites and stuff, maybe we will be able to identify more of these injustices and help, you know, more of those people like in the Congo. You know, they might be the very last people to be helped, you know, because they're so far out in the world. Or maybe they won't be. You know, maybe they're fixing to get the internet, and who knows?
yeah, man. When we got the internet, I thought that was going to be the like the fast track to creating like. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I didn't believe that heaven on earth was possible until recently. That was like one of the revelations I had with the whole awakening was, oh, it's our responsibility. Like heaven is a thing that we have to create. It's not a thing that's just like given to us when we die. Like that's the whole point of most of these religious texts is to teach us how to come together and create heaven. Um, yeah,
All right, how do you create heaven?
I mean, me personally, I s- it's a big thing. Like, I mean, my own personal heaven is I'm trying to create a little Garden of Eden to live in, man. Like, have a little farm and just have self regenerating plants. Like, I want I want to be able to live off the land and be mostly like not necessarily left alone. I want to be like a light out there. Like, I'm not trying to convert people, but I want people to be able to come to me and get back on their feet. Um, right now, that's not a place that I'm able to be for people, but it's just like, like I was saying last time, creating every day, trying to get better and better and better. But
Gotta imagine it first, right?
right, yeah, and it's just like the whole my heaven on earth would be just to be like a safe haven, one of those communities that people could come to.
That's cool, man. Heaven is no stress, and I just try to make that everywhere I go. It's hard to make it around here. It seems like in the Bible Belt, it seems like one of the most stressful places one can live at.
Yeah, it's been like that for a while. I feel like that is getting better. It's getting better, but it is it's always been one of those things where growing up in the South, I've kind of realized that religion is one of those things that people can use in a certain way to to make themselves feel better. It's like to feed inferiority or superiority complexes, just to either like I don't know, man. I guess
When I was young, I would travel up to Michigan, and we'd stop at the states on the way and stuff. And it seems like when I was a kid, everyone would be like, "Oh, you're from Tennessee? Oh, do you guys wear shoes down there yet?" And I used to always think that was funny, like, "Oh, we just some country bumpkins down here. We don't know how to wear shoes yet." Now I see how far behind the South is on civil rights and liberties and freedoms, and it's just saddening so bad.
yeah. I mean,
I didn't realize this till I was in my 30s. I didn't see it. Like I
no.
was in it, I didn't see it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, I
Because you're right, I was one of those Christian people. I was one of those followers. I was just doing what I was told. Everything was spoon fed. This is how it is. This is what reality is.
yep.
And then I woke up and I was like, oh man, this place sucks.
Well, I mean, when you're living in that dream, though, like that's what I'm saying. You're inside the illusion of freedom. When until your freedoms are the ones that are being infringed on, when you're inside that, like I don't think you realize that other people out there don't want to live exactly the way you do. And so you think freedom is just everybody doing what you want them to do.
Absolutely. A psychologist will tell you that our human experience tries to identify our experiences as the same as everyone else's.
Right, right,
And,
right.
and they're not. And you have to first understand that before you can even have true empathy for others.
Exactly. Like that's like the first I mean, one of the first like key things when you have that old like awakening, I'm one with everything, I'm one with God, it's just like you start tapping into like why like why do I feel the way I feel? And then why would other people feel the way they feel? And you start tapping into those things. I mean, and the more you dive into it, the easier it is to like you said, to stay stress free in situations because you almost feel sorry for people when they're like losing their temper or going crazy, and it's like we all go there sometimes. We've all had bad moments, but it's just like it's, like you said, empathy. You can feel for people when you see them going through those situations. You just are like, we've all had that pain before.
Right. It's like I've owned a business before, and I tell my employees, hey, if someone starts yelling at you, it's not what you're doing, man. Someone is just having a really terrible day, and they're just unleashing it on something.
The universe is a mirror, and we usually project what we are feeling onto others. Like,
Absolutely. You're right. And once you understand that, then you just start feeling bad for people.
or feeling stupid when you get mad, when you start catching
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
drifting into those things, it's almost like, oh, what the hell?
Oh, yeah. It's easy, it's easy to catch yourself,
Yeah.
you know.
And it gets easier and easier to catch
Right.
yourself. Yeah, man.
Well, why do you think a lot of people don't even think it's possible to create heaven on earth?
Well, I mean, I guess kind of what we were talking about a little bit last time with the dogmas. There's I mean, I don't know about like every single religion on earth, but I know that the ones that are closest to home don't really preach about heaven on earth. We're basically irredeemable, sans crucifixion of a savior. So, like, without Jesus dying, I mean, we're supposed to just be like wretched sinners, and it's just like we wouldn't even know what heaven is if that wasn't a thing. And it, to me, like a lot of those, a lot of it is just like what you were saying is just like we're meant to work here, and not expect anything to be great, grand, and awesome, and just like okay, your reward will be for being an obedient servant. If you're an obedient servant during life, then you get a reward in death, and it's just like that's kind of a
An obedient servant is almost a nice way of saying slave.
exactly.
You know, have you ever thought that, when slavery was here, people were born, and then they had to work their whole lives until they couldn't work anymore, and then whatever happened would happen. But nowadays, we're born free, and when we grow up, we have to work, and we have to work until we retire. Which most of the retired people I see now are too disabled to do anything that they used to want to do when they got to the age they could retire. Or one of their spouses is dying or dead or passed away, or some kind of medical condition or
Dude.
depression or obesity is there any difference then from now and when there was slavery to the average person or to the poor person or to the lower middle class person?
I would say people would argue that either way, man, there's going to be people that argue both sides of that. To me, like, yeah, I mean, we're not getting beat the shit out of. I mean, that's pretty cool. Most, I mean, to me, it's like there was more of a physical dominance to the slavery aspects. In most historical cases, it's been a physical dominance where people are being oppressed, and like if you step out of line, you get whips, chains, thrown in jail, shit like that. And nowadays, I mean, it's way more of a mental slavery. Like I was saying, a lot of people live inside the illusion of freedom. I mean, even to the like if you think about like our food system and the healthcare system and all those, it's they're owned by these little oligarchies where it's three, four, five different companies that own what we think are 25 different companies. But I mean, it's all illusion of choice everywhere you look in this country. Everywhere you look, it's an illusion of choice and freedom. So like,
Yep.
and every time something bad has happened in this country, we sign away more of our freedoms, and that's the whole thing. And we talk about the Bible Belt having like it feels intrusive to us, but it's just like all over this country. There's every state tries to tell everybody in that state how the fuck they're gonna live, and that's not what America was about. Like I mean, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that. What we learned about in school, what freedom really is basically the sovereignty to do whatever you want to do, as long
Well,
as you're not impeding on someone else's right to do whatever they want to do.
that is freedom right there. Don't get no more free than that. And that's definitely not the way it is in
No, there's.
many of the states in this country, if not all of them.
I would say that. I mean, I haven't lived everywhere. I've only lived in the South. Like, I mean, I've lived in Florida, which some would say it doesn't really count as the South, but like, I mean, I was a little kid, so I don't know about them impeding on my rights. But I just there are so many like extra rules beyond what the Bill of Rights and the Constitution says our government has the right to do to us. And I would say that extends to almost everywhere you go. Individual counties get to make up rules, and then there's like, oh, you have to jump through this red tape to do this here, and like,
You know, it's funny. I think we were talking earlier. Like, when was the last time we as Americans got more rights given to us? You know, it seems like every year there's new acts passed and bills and laws, and our rights just keep getting taken away. You know, we never get more rights added to us. We just keep getting them taken away, and
Yeah.
that's interesting to say the least.
and yeah, it just slowly happens, and we're bred to like trained to think it's okay. Like it's just like the Patriot Act happens, and they're just like, okay, now we can spy on your phones and this and that. And here now they're trying to like basically watch everything we do on the internet. Places are censoring a lot of things. It's hard to talk about a lot of different things on the internet for certain people, man. It gets it just gets interesting when you see what's allowed and what's not allowed on the internet. But if you dig deep enough, you can find anything anywhere. So it's just like, it's weird what the mainstream media wants us to know, what our government tells us is true, and then what people like Julian Assange like tell us are true. It's just like, well, wonder why he's in Russia and
Right. It's like, you know, all these other people, that soldiers or stuff that have like sold the secrets. You know, they're not like secrets. They're not like secret passwords. You know, it's like, hey, this is what America is doing. That's subverting freedom and espionage and all the bad things America is doing. It's like, oh, thanks for bringing that to light. Now, let's punish that guy for showing that. You know, so it's not like we're doing justice to an evildoer. It's more like we're bullying and punishing a freedom fighter.
we're trained to like when somebody stands up against our government, even if it is somebody being like, "Oh, our government's bombing innocent hospitals," like it just nope, they're the bad guy.
They're
because
labeled as like a homegrown terrorist or something. You know, or what a betrayer or a traitor.
yeah, man, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Like
and they're just like, right.
it would be scary to be a whistleblower, even even with the protections they're given. It would be scary to be a whistleblower in this country.
Yeah, I mean, at least none of the whistleblowers are ever murdered or or commit suicide or anything like
No, at least they never die any untimely death.
that. Just natural, good, well-timed, deserving, natural-born deaths.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't think we'll see heaven on earth in our day.
Like that's one of those things where like I mean I think it's possible, man, and it might be one of those where we have to see something worse before I mean like you were saying where you create heaven by not being stressed out. I don't know that we'll see a perfect utopia, but I think that like we could see the beginnings of a perfect utopia like where we're seeing those small communities starting to blossom out. Maybe they're not all connected into one giant heaven, but
Absolutely.
I think we'll start to see plenty of smaller heavens popping up because I really do think that man this World War III, all inflation economies across the world are just like on the brink of collapse. Like don't like we're about to
Well, Jeff,
see some
what
cool
happens
times.
before we can turn this place into heaven? According to Christian doctrine, there has to be what?
A revelation,
That's right, an apocalypse.
apocalypse. Yeah.
So I guess, what do you think that looks like?
I mean, could be World War III, dude.
You know, it could also be a metaphorical apocalypse of the old ways dying, and the old ways being destroyed, and then the new ways coming together as a oneness.
I guess that's kind of what I imagine it's more of, is why I think that we will get to start seeing the beginnings of heaven on earth. Just because I think it'll be more of like dawning of the age of Aquarius type thing. Where,
It's exactly what I'm talking about. It's going to be like
right,
a new spiritual age,
right.
kind of like a different age of enlightenment.
And there might be like what some would consider an apocalypse, because I mean, I guess the original meaning of apocalypse is raising the veil. So like, I mean, it's definitely going to change some stuff. Everything's going to be different. Like I do think that, like, I mean, the way people look at money and things and just items in general, systems,
systems
yeah,
and materials,
are just going to start collapsing and fading away. Like, we're going to realize what's
doctrines,
really important.
religions.
Right. Like, I mean, people are complaining about like groceries being expensive and gas being expensive and that kind of stuff. And once like some of that stuff just starts to go away in certain places that just never expect it to go away, and I mean, a World War III, I mean, places like Russia and China like could just be like, yeah, we're not letting America get oil anymore for a while. You know, fuck, man, like that. Those kind of things could happen really quick, and people are gonna have to like change the way they live or die. Like, I mean, maybe that doesn't happen, and maybe it does. I don't know. Like, I'm not worried about World War III. I guess either way, man. Like we have to create our own heaven, so it's just like moving forward and just living the light I can, not worry about that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is like there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the
Hey,
world, and
I am
anything could happen at any moment.
I am glad I've already done my military time and I'm too disabled to get called back. And I'm glad my daughter is not of the age to get drafted.
Yeah, man, no kidding. There is a lot of like I would not want to be in the military right now. Like, especially like they're just making up reasons to go fight places, man. Like that's I really do think that we're on the brink of that whole like heaven on earth, because once this shit starts hitting the fan, I think people are just gonna be like, I'm tired of fighting for I don't even know why.
Dude, my therapist, he's like, yeah, man, once us veterans realize what we were really fighting for, it's hard not to have PTSD for anybody. And I was like, wow, I'm glad I'm not the only one just thinking this was nuts.
No, well, that's the whole thing. Like, and you see these studies about all these soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff, and the PTSD numbers, and it's just like astronomical, like 2% that don't have PTSD or some dumb shit, and it's just like we've been doing this to people for so long, and then we do little things like, I mean, 9/11, the conspiracy theories behind 9/11, that whatever you want to believe, like our government may have been responsible for that. Like, and it's just like one of those things where it's just like, I remember being a kid in high school and how much I wanted to join the military. Luckily, I had 3 more years of high school and changed my mind about how I felt about like our military, because by then we were already in another country doing some whole other shit, and it was just like I don't even know who we're fighting over there anymore. I'm not joining that. But it's just like it is like they
See,
give
I was
us
poor,
as
dude.
a
I was like, I don't care who we're fighting. I need some money. I need to get out of poverty. I mean, yeah, let's go defend this country. Sign me up for freedom, baby.
I know, but man, I think they do. They sell us like
They
they
do.
sell
Oh,
us freedom,
they do.
but they're just giving you PTSD. And even as a
Yeah.
society, like that's what I'm saying. Like when that whole like we as a country had so much PTSD from 9/11 that may have been our government's fault, that we were willing to just be like, fuck anything over there, like we'll bomb it, yeah, just like we'll do it anything. Like, oh, Saddam's bad now, yeah, kill
Oh,
him
what?
too,
There's
do it, do
weapons
it,
of
do it.
mass destruction?
Yeah, like,
Yo.
and we have been fighting culturally in the Middle East since
Dude,
we were born, since when we were born, we have been in the Middle East like every 5 to 10 years, and like it's ridiculous. Like no wonder they hate us.
dude, you know what I thought this morning? You remember how we were told there's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and there wasn't?
Not true.
What if Israel's saying that there's the Hamas under these hospitals
And
they're
it's not.
bombing, uh, and it's not true? You know, it's just why do governments got to lie?
Man,
I mean, I joined the government to fight for it because I thought it was this one thing. You know, I expected it to be this one thing of everything that we're sold that it is. But then you realize that, oh, it's not. And you wonder why these people just quit the system and go be hermits somewhere.
yeah. I mean, that's
They go create their own little piece of heaven, you know,
yeah,
and just
exactly.
quit the system.
I was gonna say, like, we've talked to people and had people ask, like, how how do you get away from the system? How do you do this? It's just like, well, you can't just keep being part of the system.
Right.
You
So,
have to put your money where your mouth is, type thing. I just like
so let's
be.
say creating our heaven is getting out of the system. Go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, I guess I get put your money where your mouth is. You look at where you work. Are they benefiting the community, or are they just slowly leeching away, just like most companies do? Like, I mean, do you buy things that are helping and keeping money within the community, or are you funneling money to these 5 to 10 companies that own everything? Like, I mean, that's the only way we can fight back momentarily. Like, they'll find new ways to steal our money, like COVID and other things. They will find ways to keep stealing money from the public. I mean, that is what our government does. So we have to keep looking, being vigilant, take our independence back, do grow your own food, find little small coalitions to be your own little slice of heaven. Don't
right.
depend on anybody else.
And you know, stuff with you like purchasing local,
Yep.
or you know, I've got interest in some businesses, and I like to buy people from people who do business with me. You know, so it's like you got friends with businesses, buy stuff from their business. You know, support them.
Exactly. And it's not like I said, it's not a blink of an eye. You're not just going to create what you can imagine your greatest heaven to be. You're not going to wake up and have it. But living your heaven and creating your heaven is a gradual process, and it's by being responsible, putting your money where your mouth is, know what you're doing. Like, don't eat poison food, exercise, do things that are good for you, and start seeing little changes, and you will start seeing heaven just being created right in front of you. You can't build that overnight. A place that magical is not built overnight.
That is so true. And you know, for to get out of the system, you know, finances, you know, for that, you got to get as minimal as you can. You know, look up what a minimalist lifestyle is. Do a little research on that. There's some good documentaries on that. You know, so many people are living materialistic, and they're going to church and saying they're not. I mean, I don't think people would understand materialism if it smacked them in the face.
No, our society is the basis of materialism. We decorate for every stupid holiday. We create holidays to decorate and have little parties for and throw stuff away. We are constantly looking to show somebody the next shiny cool thing.
Oh yeah,
And
look at my wreath for every season on my door. Yes, I know I'm not materialistic. Praise Jesus. I go to church every Sunday.
yeah.
You know.
And it's that's basically you got to look at yourself in the mirror and just decide, am I being the life I want to create? And most of the time, like, we're doing things that we're told we're supposed to do. Like, if you find you're not happy in life, it's because you're doing things you're
Right.
told you're
What
supposed
kind
to
of
do.
home do you have,
Yeah.
right? What kind of car do you have? What kind of job do you have? What kind of friends do you have?
Do you fit into society the way you think you're supposed to?
What about the way your family, you know, it
Yeah.
says you're supposed to?
Exactly. Like, that's a lot of creating your own heaven, and it's little pieces at a time. Little pieces at a time. And we all know it. Like, there's positive affirmations out there everywhere that tell you to be yourself and do this and that. But it's like, when you start living that life. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you start seeing heaven. You appreciate everything you have, and you appreciate every step forward you take. Every time something tries to pull you backwards and you keep going, you appreciate that. That's heaven. I mean, I think that, like, once everybody starts doing that, like, we will all start benefiting way more. I mean, stop
Absolutely.
stop paying for poison food. Like, and then they'll have to, like, we as a society, if we demand better food, better medicine, better education, like, we accept what they give us, and that's why we keep getting worse and worse things. Like, I mean, I 100% believe that. I mean, we have been accepting poor government for a very long time, and accepting the fact that, like, we would rather someone else take care of us than take care of ourselves, and it's worth freedom.
Jeff, I just come to this question this morning. You know how many homeless people are around Murfreesboro and Nashville?
No, I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot.
Okay, so
And
there's
Murfreesboro didn't used to be that way.
so I'm thinking here we are in the Bible Belt. There are more churches around here per person than anywhere in the world. And yet, why do we have homeless people? Like, what are these churches doing with their money? It blew my mind this morning. Like, why do we not have places for people? It, and it just doesn't make any sense. But I don't know, man. That money's going somewhere to make people feel good about donating it to something.
Yeah, and I guess I would say that some people will say there are churches that do have homeless shelters, and there are homeless shelters, and no matter what you do, you'll always have a homeless problem. And I would agree that there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are homeless, and that's another thing that we don't take accountability for as a society. We're just like, oh well, some people are messed up. It's like, we did that to them. There should be room in a healthy society to fix our mentally ill. Like, kids don't shoot up healthy kids don't shoot up schools.
Yep,
Healthy people don't end up homeless.
that's right.
Like, and they were healthy people and healthy kids at one point, and the systems were asking them to just be shoved through are what made them that way. So we need to examine what are we doing to cause these problems instead of just
Yeah,
throwing these people away.
right. And whose responsibility is it to help these sad, these people, these sad people? I mean, I'm not asking you to answer that. I'm not letting you guys think of that, because there's multiple answers. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's certain organizations that claim to be there for these types of people, but maybe aren't.
Man.
And it's like I see some days are heaven on earth for me, but I also see some days that are hell for me. So it'd be nice to see, heaven on earth. Really, we're waiting for it to be, heaven for, almost all people all the time. When's it going to tip, when we almost never have a hell day again? Um, I don't know, but I do believe it can be done. I just, because we can only be responsible for ourselves, I don't know if the teachings and technology can get down. But we're really only responsible for, ourselves. And, we can't make other people change. We can't make everybody want to have a heaven on earth.
Right. I mean, that is kind of the whole conundrum, that I guess why some people can't imagine heaven on earth is we can't make everyone do it, but until you believe it's possible and take responsibilities to start creating it yourself, it will never happen. So I guess we're just encouraging everyone to try to just think of what their heaven on earth would be, and when you can start imagining it, start creating it.
Yeah, and I would say the only restriction on that is if you have to force any of your heavenly values on anyone else, maybe it's not a heavenly value.
Oh, 100%. I guess that's one thing we'll just continue to talk about as we do these over and over. Our principles are not to force anyone else to think the way we do. We actually want everyone to find their own. Like,
Right. We actually encourage you guys to like comment on our videos. You know, if you don't agree with us, we want to know why. You know, man, we're just two dudes. You know, there's lots of books we haven't read yet that we still want to find out other answers to things. You know, help us to learn some stuff too. Like let this be a community of a growth mindset.
yeah, basically, that is exactly what we do not have all the answers. We want everyone to be throwing things our way so we can all find the answers together to create this place to where we don't have to stress about each other or
Share the love, bro.
yeah, exactly. Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah. Share the light. Share the love.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm excited, man. This is going to be a cool journey to witness.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.